everyone, welcome to the Beach Court Podcast. It is North American International Championship week. I am very excited, even though I'm not going. I'm just so happy to see everything, all the love on Twitter, all the love on X, and all my friends preparing to go. And this week on this podcast, we have brought an in-depth study guide for you. So it's not really a matchup guide, but we're going to be bringing you a common deck list to bring some deck list knowledge for you, because that's kind of important when you're playing, up against the deck, is knowing what the deck is trying to do and what cards they basically have in their list. So we're going to give you our free study guide that will be tangible for all of you to download and use throughout the middle of the rounds. Of course, I'll have my trivia segment where I will try to stump the boys on trivia. And lastly, but not least, we will bring you our tier list and meta predictions for the North American International Championships down in New Orleans. Gentlemen, how was your weekend? How are you feeling preparing for the North American International Championships?
It was pretty good. I played Marnie's Grimsnarl all week to Nakama, cool stuff, and to the Woki Poki testing best of 3 tournament. It's super strong. I mean, like, even the games where I was like breaking and like getting destroyed, like I was able to scrounge up enough damage to like pull off a big Devo play, like 4 of the games. But I mean, yeah, it's good. Definitely, like, probably my top 3 going into the event. But yeah.
I'm just super proud that Parker has a top pick, and we're
this is mine.
Yeah, hey, I got this tournament this weekend. I'm between like 15 decks, but I only own cards for 12 of them, so I might only do those 12.
Yeah. See, the one thing is, though, the tournament I was most confident for was Charlotte, and I got destroyed at that event. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna play Lugia again. Thanks.
Well, that's because you played Lugia. What do you expect?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
We're one in the world.
He is good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Those were good times. Evo Incense, Quick Ball.
Yeah, he's the
Meanwhile, so it's Judge Pack thing. It was great.
Meanwhile, you're playing Mew VMAX with less than 4 quick.
Oh no, I had 4 Quick Balls for Charlotte. I did play 5 stadiums. Shout out Xander Pro. Actually, sorry, 6 stadiums. Shout out Xander Pro and Tablemon, who I played against, and he was like 6 stadiums. let Xander cook. Anyways. But my weekend was good too. I didn't quite have as much time to. I didn't make it to make the Voki tournament, but I've been playing a lot online and like practicing a lot. Went to cool stuff and went 5-0 with Gholdengo. When it's hard to like figure out what deck, it's nice to just like go back to something you're comfortable with. So I'm probably my top choice right now, but I am enjoying Dragapult a lot as well. So keeping the options open there. And a fun non-Pokemon thing is I couldn't make the Woki Poki tournament because I was be sang the national anthem with my local a cappella group at the Jacksonville Sharks game. So that was fun. Things went well. Yeah.
Sharks win?
I didn't stay for the game because I wanted to come back and test. So, but when I left, we were winning pretty good. So if anyone cares about, yeah, Google says, what does Google say? If anyone cares about arena football in Jacksonville. So, oh, you don't? Oh, bummer. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we won 54-48 over the Arizona Rattlers.
Let's go.
Sharks up. Chong. That's game.
Fins up.
Anyways. Fins up. Shout out to all the Fins fans out there. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also at the Woki Poki this weekend, so it was nice that my wife was able to take care of the baby for the whole day and let me go have some fun. I was the big bad player in the room because I knew nobody was going to play Gardevoir, so I was like, I need to play Gardevoir so that everyone else can actually get practice against it, because I know that no one's going to play Gardevoir unless Parker does, and I knew he wasn't. So I played Gardevoir. I went 1-4. So that was
maybe that's why they weren't playing Gardevoir.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like my matchups, I hit 3 Dark decks, Joltik box, and Cynthia's Garchomp with the charm to make it 400 HP. So,
Drifloon.
You can't hit 400, brother.
Don't you play Jamming Tower? Oh wait.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I did, and versus versus the Joltik box, I just kind of bricked one game, and then the other game I did make a misplay where I didn't put a charm on Fez. And off Iota 1, he found like Boss, Blood Moon, Kill a Fez, and I'm like, cool, man, like GG's. But yeah, the Marnie's matchup was tough, but it's not like unwinnable for sure. Like the match I played against Parker, I played against him on stream round 2, and game 1 just never found Gardevoir EX, and game 2, he found Boss before I did. Like we were literally just draw passing it into the game. Like we both got to a checkmate spot once we had Boss. But if either of us attacked, then the other could get to Boss quicker or do different things. So it was like literally just a draw pass simulator.
Wow.
Because if I attacked, counter catcher was live for him, and if he attacked,
if I attacked, counter catcher was live for him, and he had Fez.
Like, so it was a weird situation. And he didn't know I played Boss, and I did play Boss, so it was close. My round 1 win, I actually should have completely lost. Like game 3, my opponent had Poison Donk and did not see it. But as they say in the business, we take those. Yeah, I think Gardevoir's fine. And let's jump right into it. NAIC study guide time again. We're going to be sharing our screen just to give you a common list for each deck that we're talking about. We're going to run through the general strategy of each deck that we're talking about, some standard cards that are in the deck, and some possible text to be ready for when you face a Gardevoir deck or whatever deck we're talking about. Yeah. And this download will be like available to you guys, and we'll make sure that you guys get your hands on it.
Yeah, and real quick to set the scene, like why are these deck counts important, right? Why are we talking about this deck knowledge? Is like I'm not playing any of these decks, but I need to know so much about them. When we had Brent Tonneson on earlier, he talked a big part about one thing he does in his spare time is literally just scrolling through Limitless and like seeing all those lists. So this is your chance to cram and listen in an audiobook form of when you see a deck, when you sit down across from a Rockets Mewtwo, okay, how many boss are they playing? When you sit down against all these different decks, Dragapult, Charizard, or Gholdengo or Raging Bolt, like what are their counts? Knowing these counts will give you an advantage when you're playing your games, because you'll know when they're out of resources or when to be ready for more resources. You can just check their discard and check and be ready for these. So
yeah. Yep. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna do Gardevoir first. So Gardevoir is up first. The list that I'll be sharing is from a recent Limitless Tournament of Doom. Not the one from this Friday, but the previous Friday. There's 246 players. This list got third place by Cal Connor with Gardevoir. The general strategy of Gardevoir, if you don't know already, because you should mostly know, they're trying to discard Psychic Energies, set up a Gardevoir EX in play, set up as many Monkey Dories as they can with Dark Energy on them, and then start using attackers like Screamtail, which attacks your bench, Drifloon, which blows up your big EXs for 300 plus damage, Clefairy, take down your dragon types, and then some matchups where Gardevoir EX can't be knocked out, they'll just attack with Gardevoir EX over and over and putting 190 on the field, plus 30 is 220. So that's the general strategy of Gardevoir. Some of the key cards for you to remember going into New Orleans, about 95% plus are playing Seeker Box. Gone are the days of Gardevoir playing Unfair Stamp for the most part, but until you know for sure what your opponent's playing, be a little careful. But I would suspect that pretty much every Gardevoir you face plays Seeker Box. And interestingly enough, the meta has started to shift where Gardevoir decks are no longer playing Badoo across the board. It's not like 100% of the time, but it's a lot of the time where Gardevoirs are not playing Badoo. And we see in this list that Cal Connor chose to not play Badoo. I didn't play Badoo this weekend. Sometimes they may want a Cleffa or TM Evo. You'll see his list has 3 TM Evo. He's really trying to get into those Curlias. He played 3 Curlias, 3 TM Evo, so he doesn't want to prize any, doesn't want to draw into them, right? So those are the reasons that he's playing those count of cards. Almost always they're playing 7 Psychic and 3 Dark, almost 100% of the time. You may see something a little bit different if someone's playing like more than 1 Screamtail. You may think that they might not have 7 energy because they're probably not playing Drifloon if they're playing 2 Screamtail, most likely. 1 to 2 rare candy depending on the builds. If you see a Cleffa, I'd probably expect it to be 2 to 3 because that means they're trying to draw and get to that candy versus Evoing. And most decks, even though I played a boss this weekend, you'll see that Cal Connor did not play boss in his list. Most are not playing boss's orders, and their only gust item is counter catcher. So if you can play around that, that is important. And they all are playing 4 Iono. So just be ready for 4 Iono. Prepare for that. Yeah, that's Gardevoir in a nutshell, guys. You guys got any questions before we toss to the next deck? Any comments?
No. All right.
All right. Parker, you are up next with Marnie's Grimsnarl. Walk us through it.
Oh boy, another Monkey Dory deck. So we got Marnie's Grimsnarl. Seems to be one of the bad guys of the upcoming format. Pretty much the strategy that they're gonna want to like execute is prevent you from playing the game, or to like put a bunch of damage in play and wipe your board out before you can set up most of your big guys. So early game, you're gonna want to either go in a TM evolution, and depending on the matchup, you can go 2 Frostlass, you can go 1 Frostlass, 1 Mordrim, you can go 2 Mordrims, I guess. But I think for most matchups, you are gonna want Frostlass, even just to put damage on your own Monkey Doors to move it. But it's pretty. It's not like versatile in the way you play the early game. Sometimes you're just gonna want to Badoo and set up slower, because you can set up your big guy before your opponent gets to their big guy with Badoo, just preventing them from doing so. So we got, this is a list from Champions League. So while it is still like a few weeks old, still holding pretty true. Got 3 of the top 16 spots. This exact list. So yeah, out of what, 5,000 players?
That's a lot.
A lot of players. Turn 1 plays. Typically, most people are going to be either Arven for Secret Box, which is ridiculously strong play, or just Arven for Puff and Evolution. Secret Box gets you the evolution, a Poffin, either Spike Muth or Artisan, and then a Sporter for next turn. So just really ridiculous. Spike Muth's a Stadium. That is also ridiculous because you can just search a Marnie's Pokemon every turn. Doesn't have to be basic, doesn't have to be non-EX. You can search the big Grimsnarl EX with it. But yeah, like I said earlier, sometimes you just want to Badoo. Sometimes you really want to go into the evolution. I think in general, going for the evolution is like a stronger play because like just Frostlass is just a scary thing for a lot of decks too, especially if you can get 2 of them out. All your opponents Hoots or not Hoots, Noctowls and all that, and even like the 2 prize guys. If you have 2 Frostlass out, that's like 40 every time you pass the turn back, like for my turn and your turn. And then you just throw some Monkey Door damage on there, and their health goes away pretty fast, actually. As far as the lists go, 3 Monkey Dory is staple. I don't think you could really play less in here. I have seen some that are playing 4 Monkey Dories just to get them out, and you could also get out 4 Monkey Dories and move 120 damage every turn. Just because getting energy out is like pretty easy. You can always use your manual attach on a Monkey Dory, and like a lot of lists are playing the 1 energy switch. To you put 3 on your Grimsnarl when you evolve it, and energy switch 1 to a Monkey Dory. So pretty versatile in that aspect. Most lists are the 3-2-3 line, I would say, that most are playing now, although I have seen some of 4. This list right here has 4 Impidimps, and then like a 2-2 Frostlass for most as well. 8 Darks. I don't think I've seen a list without 8 Darks. 8 just seems to be the sweet spot. And then your guys on the bench aren't safe either because it plays 3 counter catchers and then 1 boss. So there's 4 gusting options that they can find off Arven or drawing into them or whatever. I've seen most with playing Shaman. Me personally, I'm not playing Shaman, but the card is good. It seems to be somewhat cuttable depending on like what you're kind of like fearing, I guess. But definitely a good card for those pesky Scream Tails. Even can help in the mirror depending on how it's going. And then TM Evolution is a card that some are cutting, but if I was sitting across the table from Marnie, I'm expecting that card in the deck unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, I know this weekend you played Maractus in your list. How do you feel about that as a possible tech inclusion?
I that is like a really insane card too. That I think, but um, it didn't help me when it really needed it to, because my opponent drew Turo off the prize. But it is really good. I mean, some decks just don't really have outs to it. Um, like I think decks are starting to include Turo more and more, just because of that card being a thing. But I think it's good. I think that I'd probably think about it playing against it as well. But yeah. Speaking of another spread deck, how about Maddox with his Dragapult?
Yeah, I mean, Dragapult, everyone should be familiar with Dragapult at this point, but for the sake of this, we're talking about several Dragapult variants during the study guide. This is just strictly the straight Dragapult build, and what I consider that is, this is the one that you're using an extremely, like, resilient Badoo-proof supporter line, buying time with Badoo, set up and consistently get your Dracloaks into play, put your pressure on your opponents by chaining Phantom Dives and using, like, really aggressive, a lot of Gust, right? So the list that we have shown here is the one from top 8 from Bologna, back, pre-rotation. But again, this is going to be pretty similar style of list. I think the main standout here is, when you're running straight Pult, you have a little bit more space for these consistency supporters or for other tech options to include other lines of backup Pokemon in here. So when you're looking at the core of this list, it's really going to be focused around that really aggressive supporter line. I mean, these are pushing sometimes 20 supporters in their deck. It's just an absurd amount. But I mean, the 4 Iono, 3 to 4 boss, and then a split of, normally 3 to 4 Brock scouting as well. And then the rest of the supporter line varies a little bit depending on the build. I think for the most part, the most popular builds are playing like Research and Turo, or potentially you'll see a couple of Jacques inclusion. They're, the default list, I would say, has Brox and Latios. That's kind of your indicator of like the kind of the standard 4x4 build that I call it. That's typically playing Neo Upper Energy. But there are some builds that are playing Arven and a few tools. Those are typically playing Unfair Stamp as well. And then when they are playing those tools, a lot of times we see other tech inclusions such as like Genesect being included in here. So the way the engine operates is you are relying on a high count of luminous energy because you're playing one Monkey Dory. And again, just needing to be able to get those attachments down. It's very much built on a, get the one attachment, research, and then start recon directing and just kind of fill up a big hand with a lot of options available. This list again is kind of a popular list that's going around with actually features no recovery and no research. It's all based around like maintaining the resources in its hand and saying that, hey, anything that's being discarded is not recoverable. So you're playing it very carefully. While this list is around, if you're seeing research in your opponent's straight Dragapult list, expect them to be playing a couple stretchers. If you're seeing like a very heavy Jacques counted, that's maybe an indication that they might not have recovery and aren't playing research because of that. So which makes their list a little bit more controlled and tactical, but not quite as like burst powerful. And when you're playing these Dragapult lists, again, you're talking about when you have this extra space by, not having a pure line, there's a couple of other like combos we've seen in here. Some lists online have been doing well with the Team Rocket's Crobat as a way to just, ping damage into play. I know Eric's nodding because he's been a big fan of that deck. He's talked about it here a couple of times. But also we've seen some success on Limitless tournaments with a thin Frostlass line, as small as a 1/1 line, just to get some extra damage spread into play. And even there's a kind of a wacky list going on with Blaziken EX to be able to constantly chain your energy into play. So I'm not sure how popular that one's going to be, but I think for the most part, the core that you should be expecting is that, core, that full Dragapult core with heavy Badoo, Blood Moon Ursaluna, Latias, as well as like Cleffa and even a Maractus as that other tech option. I do think the build is also likely to run Shaman and Maractus, especially when you have that heavy count of Brox. It's easier to get that into play. But again, when you're seeing that Arven and heavier tool build, probably expect maybe less like Maractus, less, Pokemon search, but a little more likely to play Unfair Stamp. So gonna keep an eye for those Arvins. But for the most part, the straight Dragapult I think is a little less powerful than some of the other Dragapult variants we're talking about today. But this one does see a lot of straight consistency and is very popular because of that.
I think about like Watchtower as an inclusion. I see it like you're showing the Jamming Tower list, but didn't talk about Watchtower.
Yeah, good point. These lists typically are playing 1 to 2 stadiums. I think it's the main 2 disruptive stadiums for decks that aren't relying on stadiums, such as Marnie's Grimsnarl, are typically opting towards like Jamming Tower or Team Rocket's Watchtower. So that's kind of a trend. We'll talk about the few other decks that have space to run extra stadiums, and that's kind of the disruptive ones that they're choosing. I think most commonly, you expect the Jamming Tower first because the Dragapults need the extra help in the Gardevoir. But potentially they could say, run a Shulets, including a Watchtower, or just go 2 Watchtower.
That's fair.
But another big bad deck that does not like Watchtower is this next one that Eric's talking about, which was shout out to Jeremy, who actually took down the Wokey Pokey tournament this past weekend with Eevee Box.
Yeah, Eevee Box is if I was going to NAIC, would personally be my pick. It's the best toolbox deck in the format. The deck's general strategy is to use Fan Rotom to set up the powerful Noctowl engine, and use that Noctowl engine to pick the 2 cards out of your deck every single turn that you need. And it's a combo heavy deck, so you'll see like a lot of one of cards in their deck. You'll see like 1 Crystal, obviously is Ace Pack, 1 Switch, 1 Terror, 1 Falfin, 1 Countercatcher, one Rod, right? Like a lot of one-ofs, even their Pokemon. There's so many one-ofs across the board. But they can do that because they're, good players will play the deck very, very well. So they're trying to set up the Noctowl engine. They're using Sylveon to disrupt your bench and disrupt your setup, to Angelite 2 Pokemon from your bench. Use powerful Terra attacks like Flareon's attack. Carnelian does 280 damage, can't attack next turn. Does have very relevant weakness in the format, with Gholdengo being in the format for Burning Charge to 130, which does KO Gholdengo EX and accelerates energy into play. But most recently, we have seen a big uptick of all Flareon decks and Sylveon decks, including at least one of, if not 2 of, Leafeon EX, because of Big Bad Marnie's Grimsnarl being a huge meta contender going in NAIC. Because the attack Mossgate does 230 damage and heals 100 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. So that's a lot of damage that Marnie's trying to spread. It's got relevant weakness. It's just KOing it right away. So I think the Leafeon is going to be seen a lot this weekend across all of our streams. So this is also another Cal Connor build that I'm showing. 8th place out of the 246 Tournament of Doom. Like I said, I think the Leafeons are stronger. I mean, I would expect them to play at least 1, but sometimes like they might be playing 2 just because like it's such a good attack in this format right now. 3 Crispin is standard across 99% of lists. Like almost no one's playing 4 and no one's playing 2 that we're seeing so far. So expect 3. They average about 8 to 9 energies depending on their specific build, and if they want to play the dark to play Umbreon EX in their deck if they feel like they're scared of Gardevoir, because the Gardevoir matchup's a little shaky for Eevee Box at best. So the Umbreon might help them out a little bit. Definitely assume that they always play Briar. Their deck is full of Terra Pokemon. So make sure that you're playing around the Briar if you're up against this deck, because I would expect them to have Briar in their deck. And strangely enough, across the board, even with Watchtower being being a card, their stadiums are down to 2 stadiums. So if you can catch them, getting rid of a stadium and you bump another one with a Watchtower, I wouldn't expect them to have a 3rd stadium to replace it. But they could be including the tech card Chien-Pao, not Chien-Pao EX, Chien-Pao basic single prizer that has the Snow Sink ability. And basically, it's like old Pumpkaboo for those that remember it. When you play it from your hand to the bench, you can discard the stadium and play. It's relevant against Dragapult because you can get rid of damaged guys. There's a lot of cool things that that card is for. And the last tech card I want to talk about is a tech card that's quite under the radar. You heard Parker say he's probably cutting Shaman. People are like, I'm probably cutting Shaman. Right? They're already playing everything in the deck to play Wellspring Ogerpon. I could totally see Eevee boxes this weekend playing a Wellspring Ogerpon in their deck. Because Angel Eye, while it's a good attack and it slows down your opponent, it doesn't progress the game state and can lead to more ties. So you might see some people playing some Wellspring Ogerpon. So if you're up against Eevee box and you are playing Shaman and you're worried about Shaman or worried about Wellspring, maybe you just bench the Shaman game one to see it until you find out if they have it. Because a timely torrential pump could really just devastate your board and lose you the game on the spot. But yeah, that's kind of like my rundown of Eevee box. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, definitely super good deck going into like the tournament.
Yeah, definitely a deck to watch out for. I think it's solid. It's a little tricky to play, so I'll hurt the play rate, but I do think, there'll be a few folks that have done well with it before. The Owen Dalgars, the folks with top eights with Flare on box, well, I'm sure will show up and have a good time.
Yeah, it is definitely a hard deck to play. Speaking of a hard deck to play, Parker, you're up next talking about Dragapult Dusknoir. This is a deck right now that's seeing a lot of play online. There's a couple of different variants of lists that are going on with it, so there's a couple lists we'll show here. But run us through what's going on with Dragapult Dusknoir.
All right, so this particular list is kind of just what we call the Iona research build. This one you're just gonna be drawing lots of cards. Most of the time, drawing a lot of cards is good in a game where you know drawing cards is like the main thing that helps you see your deck. Um, you're pretty much gonna want to coffin out. You're gonna want to use Badu early game. You're setting up as many Dracloaks as you can, while also setting up those pesky Dusknoirs to bombard your field or your opponent's field once you're ready to attack. Um, Even early Dusclops plus Phantom Dives can be like truly devastating to some decks. Like your opponent only gets one Ralts out because you're Vaduing them. You just go Curse Blast, Phantom Dive, kill your active and the Ralts on the bench. That's definitely a good line.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Most of the Dragapult lists like this are opting to not play Rare Candy. Um, you're just going for that slow setup to kind of make your board like wide and strong rather than have that explosive turn one or turn two, Rare Candy Dragapult, Neo Upper, and then you get Ionoed into nothing and lose. But yeah. There's a lot of lists going around. Playing no boss. This one particularly um has 3 counter catchers in it. So they're banking on you killing their Badu as you set up and then going for a big turn of like picking apart your board after that. Um and
Yeah, with the Dusknoirs, they can always fix that prize trade too.
yeah, the Dusknoirs are really a ridiculous card.
Yeah, I mean, I see that this deck today, and it's actually nasty. Fabrizio, the cooking. I saw a well online tournament again today with it.
Yeah, 4-4-3 pull and 3-3-2 plus Jacques plus drawing 6 or 7 cards with your supporter plus the recon directives. You can pretty much piece together a lot of your games just off of the pure draw power in this deck. Right now it looks like most lists aren't playing Monkey, even though we've got Luminous in the deck, although only playing one. And then no Blood Moon as well. Uh, and then there's kind of another variant of Dragapult Dusknoir. It's Unfair Stamp Arvin. Um, Seems to be pretty popular. Most are going for a little bit slimmer of a Dusknoir line in order to play more supporters just due to the format. But also a super strong variant here, playing 3 luminous energies, so they can utilize the Monkey Dory more. They got 4 Ionos, which is just good, draws you cards. Arvin, if you open it, super, super good. But also good mid game, helps you get Unfair Stamp, could help you get Counter Catcher. Just super good card. It's got a it's got more recovery in it, as you didn't really see much in the last one. But yeah. In this list, you can see one of the techs that a lot of Dragapult decks are playing, the Luxurious Cape. Putting that on your Badoo makes it very hard for it to kill, so it makes it give it some luxurious clothing and is very hard to kill. Shaman, while we haven't seen Shaman in either of these, wouldn't be a surprise to see some in lists coming out this weekend. TM Devo, since you are spreading a bunch of damage, can help you steal some games. Rare Candy is another potential tech. I wouldn't see it going more than like 2. But most builds were pretty content on like this slow build until Raging Bolt kind of figured, hey, I can just snipe your guy while you're setting up, and then all that is for naught. But I think that you won't see too many rare candies. Crispin is a card that Dragapult has played on and off. If you're not seeing some luminous energies in play, I would think, hey, maybe their Dragapult with no energies can attack next turn with a Crispin. So, yeah. But speaking of Crispin and Raging Bolt, Maddox, what have you got for us?
Yeah, again, we got Raging Bolt EX, which is the big bad. It's been around for a little while, and a deck that people are ready for. And that is pretty powerful in this upcoming format as well. So the main gist here is we're using Fan Rotom's Fan Call to set up our Noctowl engine, being able to use Jewel Seeker to power up either our bench sniping Raging Bolt or our prize race by taking one-hit KOs with Raging Bolt EX. So the most popular variant right now is kind of similar to like what has appeared here on the screen. A lot of players have been playing it. All up Blitzel's been a big fan of it. The main piece here is that you have your slew of attackers. You have your Raging Bolt EX. You have your baby Raging Bolt to use Thunderburst Storm to snipe the bench. A Blood Moon Ursa Luna has made its way back into the list. Slitherwing is another attacker, and Fan Rotom is single prize attackers. We also see the Iron Leaves as a tech attacker, mainly, again, that grass weakness, leaning into the Marnie's Grimsnarl matchup a little bit more. So the engine that we're expecting here is, again, that 3/3 Noctowl with 2 Fan Rotom to get them set up. And then beyond that, the explosive Jewel Seeker abilities, you're using, Mew plus Fez plus Professor Sada's to get things rolling. Supporter-wise, 4 Sada, 2 Crispin is standard pretty much across the board. Most are on 1 boss and actually playing both Iono and Judge. So if we have seen Turo in the past, Turo is a little bit trending out of Raging Bolt lists. Counter Catcher is a little bit more common in these lists without Pal Pad. So if you're not able to recycle your Turo or your boss's orders and they're playing a Counter Catcher, so now you have boss's orders, Counter Catcher, plus the Ace spec in every list Prime Catcher. I think there's a bit of a new standard. 6 Grass Energy is coming back a little bit more as the standard. We've seen it as 5 ever since Caleb Gettimer won a regional with Raging Bolt, but 6 is coming back, I think, with the inclusion of Iron Leaves, needing to make the deck a little bit more Badoo resilient. We're seeing some go to that 6 Grass Energy. And then for our recovery, really relying on 3 Night Stretchers or potentially 2 Night Stretcher and an Energy Retrieval. Stadium-wise, still kind of standard build they've been playing. 2 areas 0 to go wide, and plus the 1 jamming tower to help into Gardevoir, as well as reduce the board down when needed. So I think, again, the main text to watch out for. Turo is pretty much cut for most of the time. Counter Catcher is the new common inclusion as an item-based gust, so be ready for that. I would say most Raging Bolts this weekend, I'm not expecting them to have Pal Pad, so once that boss's orders is down, you can feel pretty safe. That's gone. And just, how the game goes. But be ready for like an Iono plus Judge, multiple ways to disrupt you. The last few techs that we see sometimes is an occasional Picnic Basket, extra healing against Marnie's Grimsnarl and Dragapult. It's a good way for them to wipe damage off the board. I think, wait to see it first before you really play around it. But also Energy Switch, a little bit of a less common inclusion. I think it's less powerful in a heavier Badoo format, but some Raging Bolt lists are including the Energy Switch. Again, primarily to get that Thunderburst Storm going a little bit quicker, to healing some bigger damage. Or potentially to attack with the 2 Mask Ogre Pawn out of nowhere. But if you're worried about striking things like Raging Bolt, that Luxurious Cape, like you mentioned in the last one with Dragapult Dusknoir, the great part about Luxurious Cape, you can go slap it on your cloak. Once it evolves, you're not a 2-prize liability anymore because you're a Dragapult. Or you can put it on your Dusclops or Dusknoir, and when you use Curse Blast, you're not giving an extra prize. So that's just
These lists are wild. Like, Raging Bolt has changed so much.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of how Raging Bolt has changed, it's changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of a deck that's changed quite a lot, is Charizard has departed quite from its original days, and the most common partner really being Dragapult Charizard, which actually won the most recent Champion Leagues, and that's what Eric is going to be talking about next.
Yeah, I mean, Dragapult Charizard has been a deck that Oscar Madsen has been, a champion for a very, very long time. Like Mike said, it did win Champions League in the format that we're about to play in. I do think it's going to be a strong play. We're going to see some people, picking it up. I don't know if it's going to be like a top 6 meta deck per se. It might be like on that fringe somewhere around 6th. But the general strategy is just to there's some really good engines in this deck. Charizard's Infernal Rain just puts 3 energy onto the board from the deck. Dragapult has Recon Directive as you're starting to build up your board. Charmeleon has Flare Veil, which protects from Devo, and other things along those lines. So really just using those strong engines to set up a really good board state that says hey, at the end of the game, here's this big Charizard. I just unfair stamped you and I KO'd your active. What do you got? That's really the idea of Dragapult Charizard for the most part, just building up a really unbeatable board state and just asking your opponent to answer all the questions. This is a Tournament of Doom list. I've been loving Tournament of Doom. This is a 5th place list. I would expect 1 to 2 Watchtower in this list because it is a little weak against Eevee box because again, they've got the Leafeons, they've got the Sylveons. So they need to combat that deck a little bit more. So they should be playing Watchtowers. 4-4-2 Dragapult lines. This one I'm showing is a 4-3-2, but I would expect a 4-4-2 across the board. 2-1-2 Charizard, 2 Badoos. The most common ace spec is definitely Unfair Stamp, but you could see a sneaky player playing Hero's Cape from previous builds because they did like the Hero's Cape in the previous builds. So we could see Hero's Cape in there. 2 Counter Catcher, 3 Boss, 4 Auto is pretty common. So those are kind of the common cards. And they are sneaking in the Monkey Dory now with the Dragapult versions because, again, you just want that Monkey Dory because everyone wants it now. Literally, Monkey Dory will be the MVP of NAIC, for sure. I could see them teching Mist Energy if the Marnie's matchup is bad enough. A 1-of Mist Energy you're trying to find to stop a Devo late game. I could totally see that being a thing that Charizard decks play. I could see them playing Halucha to fix some math. Because Dragapult Mouth is good. I could see Picnic Basket to heal things. So these are all possible tech conclusions that, test out your matchups in the meta and see what you think, of those decks. But next up, we've got Joltik box. I think I pulled this twice. Yep, I did. Okay. I did think that was a thing. Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Wait, check. Go ahead, Parker. Lead us in Joltik box.
Yeah, Joltik box is a strong deck. Utilizes 2 very, very strong attackers. The general strategy of this deck is go second, get Miraidon, get Joltik in an energy, and use the attack to power up whichever other guy you searched off the Miraidon, whether it be Iron Hands or Pikachu. Iron Hands getting powered up in 1 turn, 1 little attack from a little 30 HP bug, very terrifying. Yeah, Iron Hands is insane, a really insane card. Badoo-hoo, boom, amp you very much. Yeah, gust that your cloak on the bench, amp you very much. Yeah, super strong deck. I think it's always it's a good deck to play for regionals just because it is fairly simple to play. The lines aren't super hard to see. You really only have one strategy. You just pick your attacker at the moment, and it's just a fast, quick deck that uses really 3 of the best attackers in the game, being Clefairy, Pikachu EX, and Iron Hands EX. Pikachu, most decks are playing 2 Resolute Heart. Gives it a Focus Sash IRL. Makes it pretty hard to deal with unless you got some kind of way to spread damage, or they've seen decks poison, or like the Slitherwing and Raging Bolt burns it so it knocks it out. But decks that can't deal with it, he's sitting on the board 2 turns no matter what. 2 Iron Hands, like I was saying before, just crazy attacker, just 4 energies on it, and be very much. What do you do against that? It's pretty tough to come back from. Lily's Clefairy, just really good attacker in general, but most are playing 1 because you can just Crispin, bench it, boom, attack, your Dragapult's gone. 1 Iron Leaves, which I didn't really like that much in previous formats, but now is going to be a super strong card going into this format, given that a lot of the best attackers are weak to grass. And then you got Mew you can also attack with if your opponent's got some big bad guy. Like, let's say they got 1 prize, your Leaves is down, and they have Charizard inactive. Boom, you can Mew them. You can also Serendipity them. You can snipes things while they're setting up, but I think Iron Hands is just better for the most part. But yeah, it's just super strong. Pretty simple deck. Most, I would say, are going to be playing the Genesect. If you are a Gholdengo believer, you might want to play that eSearch Pro as soon as you can. Genesect could be coming down. Genesect's another good card, good against all the oh my god, Tress's Trolley decks. Either prevents you from getting unfair stamped. The secret box decks, if you can get it out. Yeah, there's so many good ace specs. Heavy Baton is another inclusion. It lets you just go from Iron Hands to Iron Hands, or Iron Hands to Pikachu, or Iron Hands to whomstever. We got Petrel, which is a new card that you see in this list on the screen right now. Kind of, I think good. Situationary.
It's kind of like
Marvin. Well, it gives you the option to find your watchtower, which is the thing that the Joltik bot decks couldn't do before. Now you can have a way to find your stadium.
Find a stadium, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Get that, or like
Skylit home.
Oh boy, I need Crime Catcher. Boom, I can use it there. Maractus is a deck you've seen in and out of the list. If all goes wrong, you can just put a Maractus out and hope your opponent can't get out of it for a couple turns while you set up. But yeah, overall, pretty strong deck. Yeah, pretty good.
Right along to another nice beatstick deck.
Yeah, the deck that needs their ace spec.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so talking Gholdengo Dragapult. So again, the main key with Gholdengo Dragapult is they're looking to Evo into their engine, right? Evo into benched Gholdengos or Dracloaks, and then use Energy Search Pro to take big KOs early, and then set up a strong draw board of a bunch of Gholdengo to use coin bonus and a bunch of Dracloaks to use Recon Directive, plus flip the script, and then just chain 2 prize knockouts with superior energy retrieval. So the list as we can see right now is pretty standardized for Gholdengo. It's been championed a lot by Lee Boy and King Heracross, who've been like dominating online tournaments with this list. I think they're the only people playing it, but like the tournaments they do play, they're doing pretty well in them. But this list, very standardized at this point. It's kind of a variant of the Caleb Rogers and Grant Shen build that was popular in our previous format. The supporter count is pretty standard across the board here. We're seeing 4 Arven, 3 Cypher, 2 Boss, 1 Iona, 1 Professor's Turo. I think that is pretty much to be expected from almost every Gholdengo list at this point. For recovery, you normally see 2 Night Stretchers, the common, 1 to 2 Night Stretcher, maybe if they're going a little bit slim, plus this 4 superior energy retrieval to chain that energy back and forth. Monkey Dory is a very common inclusion to go along with 1 counter catcher, so giving some options and some ability to manipulate damage and prizes. And pretty much all of them are playing 11 energy. So, of course, they need to play 1 of every type of energy to best properly utilize Energy Search Pro. But for those extra 3 energy, they're only playing 3 total basic metal energy and then 2 total basic dark energy. Just find it easier and to use that Monkey Dory, which is relevant in so many matchups. I'll also expect, pretty much all these, expect there to be a copy of Dragapult. So if your opponent ever goes attach a Psychic or a Fire to Dracloak, be potentially ready for a Dragapult to appear on the next turn. Also Jamming Tower. They're pretty much all playing Jamming Tower at this point. Some text to watch out for. Again, Turo's going in and out of lists. Some are not including them. Some are including them. I think expect it to be there for now, but if a prime opportunity shows up and your opponent has their entire deck in their hands, maybe they'll have it. Second Iono is kind of a surprise inclusion for a little extra consistency, and can also combo with another potential tech card, the Watchtower, which is showing up a little bit. There's a little bit of some ideas along some second counter catcher, which, Azul, GG's could put out some videos and talk about counter catcher and Watchtower. Those normally come at the cost of consistency, so just be watching out for that. I think the other tech inclusion is the Picnic Basket to help against the Marnie's Grimsnarl matchup and Dragapult as well. Gholdengo is a pretty tough time in a Marnie's Grimsnarl just with the power of devolution, so a lot of them are opting for a Picnic Basket to keep things rolling. But yeah, that's the gist with Gholdengo. But we're going to talk about the hot new deck on the block that we've been waiting to see how it's going to do, and if you don't know how it works, you get to see it now with Team Rocket.
Yeah, this is Team Rockets. Also got top 8 in Tournament of Doom. The Team Rockets, like the appeal to Team Rockets is there's just so many really good cards that are in the deck. Like the Team Rockets Proton, that if you go first, you can just find 3 Team Rockets Pokemon and put them onto your bench. You got the Ariana, let you draw until you have 8. You've got the Giovanni, which is like a Guzma effect. There's just so many really good cards. You got the Transceiver to find any supporter in your deck that you want as an item card. So it's just like a lot of really good Team Rockets cards. So it's using those cards to just set their board up consistently, use Spite Ops to deal 180 base damage with a full bench, which, again, right now, going into a Marnie's heavy format, this could be really good because Spite Ops is a single prizer that Marnie's has to deal with. And when they KO it back, they could just have another Spite Ops waiting in the wings, because the Articuno does stop things like Dragapult onto their basics, and it also blocks bench damage. So they can't just it doesn't block.
It just blocks bench damage counters.
Oh, sorry.
Put it down and protect your Dragapult. Protect your.
This is why we do this, because we all learn together, right?
There you go. Exactly. Yes. Being able to have your Articuno down, and if they smack for 200 into your Mewtwo, you can't clean up on the bench later, right? Articuno doing a very, very good job of walling out and protecting your Tarantulas at only 50 HP as well.
Yeah, so the decks are playing a 4-4 Spite Ups line for the most part. This one we see on here did play a 4-3, but they are playing 2 Mewtwo EX, which does 280 if you discard 2 energy from it, and they can easily just discard the Team Rocket's energy from that Pokemon, which does count as 2. The Mimikyu in the deck copies Terra attacks, so with the Clefairy that people are starting to tech in, the Clefairy on the bench, if you attack with the Mimikyu into a Dragapult, that would KO the active Dragapult and spread damage to the opponent's bench with their Phantom Dive attack as a single prizer is just really good. So definitely expect them to play Lily's Clefairy. Right now, the A-spec of choice is usually Secret Box, but this variant here, we are seeing Max Belt. But I think I would expect to see Secret Box for just that max consistency in the deck. Because the people playing this deck, that's what they want. They do have 3 to 5 gusting effects with the 2 Giovannis, and 2 to 3 counter catchers. Sorry, what's the item base? What's the item base cost?
Yeah, it's a lot of time. These decks for the most part, some are often playing even as many as 4 Giovanni. Some are playing counter catcher. This particular list is a little bit lighter on Gust and in favor of other options. But yeah, I think for the most part, expect 3 to 4 Giovanni, potentially counter catcher as an inclusion. Yeah. Unless, you hit this person. So
you see, some people don't know a lot about this deck, including myself, because I haven't played it. So I learned as much as I could today, and here we are. So we're learning together. I hope you guys are getting something from this, from my stupidity. But it does have 2 energy switch again. The Spite Ups puts energy into play, and you can move it to somewhere that you need to. So yeah, I think Team Rockets could, be pretty good into the meta, depending on where we go. But next up, speaking of meta decks and kind of countering the meta, Parker, there's a couple of grass decks that are popping up. And some Spidops control. Tell us
Yes.
about these off-meta decks.
Yeah, speaking of Spidops, there are some grass decks popping up in the tall grass. Spidops Control is basically a retreat lock deck. It doesn't. It's not really utilizing it like Maractus, where you can kind of like, I can
You can't use it
get out
to trap your opponent. Instead, you're using the ability to increase the retreat cost to 5 energy or something. And it's just like I'm never retreating this, right?
Yeah, you give your opponent a 10,000 retreat costs, and then you can utilize things like this little Dedenne, electromagnetic sonar.
Let's gemstone on Dedenne.
Yeah. Now your opponent's got 8 retreat costs. But yeah, you got electromagnetic sonar. Just put a trainer from your discard back in your hand, so recursion's good.
Just get the miracle headset back when we start getting this pretty.
Yep, pretty broken. Clef Key, if your opponent's a Latios deck, slam Clef Key up there. Now, instead of having free retreat, they have 10 million retreat. Chi-Yu, seen this guy before. Mills your opponent's deck, getting rid of resources and eventually meeting probably your win condition of your opponent having no cards left in deck or being so angry that they concede. Zoroark, 2/2 Zoroark EX, got that good old trade ability. You're going to see that getting through your deck. You're going to be usually playing a tech supporter on your turns to mess with your opponent's setup or to pick stuff off of your board.
Comment below if I should play this deck this weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, listen, we weren't planning to cover this deck until right before we started. We saw this deck existed and wanted you all to at least know about it. So if you do see it, then you can know, hey, there's Melodic that's going to stop your Turo. It's going to shove Klefki or Dedenne in the active and get things rolling. So, but I know there's a couple other grass decks we just wanted to point out. I think this next one here, this is the Toadscruel. Toadscruel.
Yeah, we talked about this on the pod before. Pretty simple. You put grass energies on your guy and then attack with Toadscruel. You can hit up to 280 with it, which is a very good number, as always it seems to be in the current format. But Toadscruel EX does more than just hit for 280. Your ability blocks effects of attacks. Pokemon with energy.
No Devo.
No Devos. No Phantom Dives. No confusion. You can't corner. So it actually gets around a lot of annoying things in the format. I guess the biggest one is Phantom Dive, but the non-EX Toadscruel makes it so you can't put cards back from your discard pile into your hand. So no Night Stretchers, no Miracle Headsets.
No Miracle Headset. Yeah, so many decks functioning off of Night Stretcher, I mean, a very strong inclusion.
Yeah. Night Stretcher's a big card.
Yeah, a very good list from Rach. And honestly, I think could show some signs with maybe even potentially the newest grass type inclusion in the Destin Rivals, Yanmega EX.
Yeah. I think that people are still trying to crack the Yanmega's lists. I've seen some with Luminous Energies, Iron Hands, and other various attackers.
Pokemon catcher.
One catcher?
Yeah, I mean, Yanmega hits 210 pretty reliably, but can't really do too much else. So, plays 4 bosses orders, plus a Pokemon catcher, plus the Dunsparce DX, plus the Dunsparce engine to draw cards. But again, the Jet Cyclone attack being really cool, letting you move that 3 grass energy to your bench, so you can bench an Iron Hand,
power up Iron Hand,
and power up an Amp very much, and use one of your 4 bosses orders or your Prime Catcher. You already have 6 Gusts in here, right? We're playing Dusk Ball, man. This list. But basically, they're just here. You're just flooding the board with energy and chaining your attacks.
Yeah, Dusk Ball is an interesting inclusion. But yeah, these grass decks, they're gonna be popping up around. But you know what it does attack into very well also is Charizard, which did make a big resurgence in Champions League. Max, tell us about Charizard and what's going on.
Yeah, again, Charizard is kind of an interesting spot, right? Charizard thrived a lot in the Japan format when we had the inclusion of the Psyduck that would shut off Dusknoir. So we're in a little bit of a curious spot of if Charizard is going to be impactful or not, but we do see it seeing some success and being talked about by some good players, so did want to bring it up here. Again, Charizard Pidgeot uses the power of Quick Search and Infernal Rain to set up your powerful stage 2s and play off the board, make powerful comebacks combined with Disruption and Dusknoir options, things like that. So for the most part, Charizard builds right now are very leaning heavily into Evo. Sometimes they're playing a Vadu and Cleffa, but a lot of times they're like reliant on Evo and a lot of matchups in getting into their 3-2-2 or 3-2-3 Charizard line and a 2-1-2 or 2-2-2 Pidgeot line. Dusknoir is pretty common here. We're seeing like a 2-1-1 inclusion, kind of like the old days for anyone who's a big Charizard enjoyer. But overall, supporter-wise, I mean, I think be prepared for 4 Iono, 4 Arven. They just need supporters to get setting and get rolling. Gust-wise, they're probably playing 4 Gust, 2 Boss, 2 Counter Catcher, sorry. Other tech cards, Professor Turo and Briar is a very, very common inclusion in these lists, so be ready for that. Some are playing Pal Pad to recover these, but not all of them. A lot of times recovery is pretty limited. I've seen sometimes with 2 Super Rods to get those fire energies back in the deck. You're always going to see at least 1 Super Rod because of that Infernal Rain. So sometimes you'll see a 1 Rod, 1 Stretcher split. Now the Ace spec is kind of a really mixed bag. I mean, I've seen Max Belt, Hero's Cape, Precious Trolley, Prime Catcher, Secret Box, Unfair Stamp, and Tree. I think for the most part, plan on Unfair Stamp or Maximum Belts is the most common we're seeing here. In addition to this list, we're playing the Hero's Cape just to make things a little bit bulkier. So another text to watch out for. I think the Chi-Yu is pretty standard at this point. If you see your opponent playing a Charizard, I would expect them to have a Chi-Yu, so be aware of that. If you're playing Raging Bolt or Gholdengo, be ready for that. And Charizard is always going to include some type of damage modifier just because of like how its attack scales with Dusknoir. So I would expect either a Defiance Band or a Max Belt as the inclusion. And also these are including Shaman more and more often, so I think be ready for that as well.
Yeah, so like that's gonna do it for our study guide review. We know we went in depth on a lot of decks there, but we want you to be prepared. So hope you enjoyed those segments. Let us know in the comments below. We gotta get into our next segment, which is our trivia segment. But before we do, Manix,
yeah, if you gotta be prepared, you gotta be prepared for the tournament, and you gotta be prepared with your card sleeves. Again, FCBC, we have a fantastic deal working with them. Again, you can use code BeachCourtPod to get 30% off.
30%.
Link in the description. Parker and I will be using these. We'll be repping the sleeves. Swing by. Maybe we'll have some left over. We don't have that many. But snag some online while you can for a 30% off deal.
How many so far? You have a whole.
Yes, we have our box full, ready for us. If you want sleeves like, oh my god, if you want sleeves like us, get some FCBCs. Use code BeachCourtPod.
Our podcasting platforms. Maddox just dumped a box of FCBC on his head, and it's making it rain. And NAIC, let's go.
Yeah, blood red sleeves. They were just red before he dumped them on his head, but now there's blood on them.
I think they're okay. They're very sturdy and very like, you know, they don't break easily. They don't rip. I think they're fine. Box is a little dinged up, but I'll just use these first.
I love it. Yeah, what sleeves? Your sleeves? What color you rocking the NAIC, Maddox?
Oh, you know I got those periwinkles. Always rocking the periwinkles.
Parker, what color you rocking the NAIC?
Depends on the deck. I got some sleeved up in mints. I also got the royal purples coming in.
Okay, all right.
Of course, Eric always loving the blood red.
I would
blood reds.
100% blood red if I was there. So, shout out to FCBC for their continued support of this podcast. Also, shout out Nakama. We've got some big stuff coming with Nakama. Nakama Gaming Convention coming up again, June 28th. We'll have the Elite Four Challenge there. We've got a lot of good stuff coming on. So come on out on June 28th. But let's jump into trivia real quick. We got to go through this. I got a fun question for you guys. We love limitless data around here.
When he says fun, it's never fun for anyone who's listening out.
Never fun. Okay, so criteria, minimum 20 decks in the Destined Rivals format, like 20 accounts of someone playing this in a tournament. There are 3 decks that have a greater than 55% win rate with minimum 20 plays. Name the 3 decks, please. If you get 2 right, I will give it to you.
Man, it's funny. That could be any pile of something.
Isn't one of them that Spidops deck?
The Spidops cannot be doing that good.
I thought it had like 56 or something.
I
don't know.
I mean, I'll bet if you feel that confident. I mean, if we're thinking other meta decks, like Gholdengo is probably close, but like because I only say that because like Lee, Boy, and King Heracross been playing it, and they like have gotten like first or second like all the tournaments they've played, and they might be the only people playing this list of tournaments, but they definitely have 20 plays. I mean, Flareon or Gardevoir. I mean, Gardevoir's probably too tough because of the. Sorry, my head still hurts from dropping a box of sleeves on my head. Not gonna lie, okay.
You're making it rain, bro.
Ouch.
Testament to how strong they are.
Exactly, they're a full 100 sleeves in every box, and I felt every one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the brain power for this. If you believe Spidops, you know the data more than me.
Well, I really don't, but I feel like Eric mentioned it. I think he literally said.
Yeah, I forget about their prep. Maybe it was under 55 though. We could say it was over 55 though. For the sake of it. I mean, Marnie's isn't gonna have that high of a rate. I mean, what's another deck that only could we see like a Terror box sneaking in, like Flareon box sneaking in over 55 maybe?
Flareon box maybe, but I've played it on an online tournament and griefed that statistic.
Sure, I fear because Park personally didn't do very well. We actually exclude field data.
Yeah, I won 3 and 4, baby.
All right, let's lock in some guesses here.
20 plays. Goodness gracious.
You only gotta get 2 right.
All right, let's do Dango, Spidops, and what's the other one, Parker?
I feel like it's some dumb like Ho-Oh or Garchomp or something.
I mean, I think it's something dumb too, just because Limitless tournaments are whack. So
Garchomp's up there. All
right, let's go wild. We're going Garchomp, Gholdengo, and Spidops.
All right.
Not the decks anyone expected to actually.
Okay, Garchomp, Spidops, Gholdengo. All right, at 56.
These are terrible guesses.
At 56.37%, we have Gholdengo, Dragapult. Congratulations.
Right. All right.
At 56.41, we have Gholdengo. So I don't know if I can give you that one, but I'm probably gonna give
both variants.
Oh yeah, both variants are there.
No one's playing this deck, dude.
And third, we have Great Tusk Mill at 55.14%.
I think I'm okay not being right on this one.
Okay, all right. I had to ask this question just because, when I looked at it, I was like, Great Tusk Mill? That's crazy. So yeah, that was pretty funny. Anyways, those are the jokes. Let's get to the serious business. People are here to find out exactly what we think are the best decks for NAIC. Let's start filling out our tier list and predicting the top 6 meta. We don't have to go through all the meta percentages, but let's predict the top 6. All right, folks. Let's just kick it off with Marty's Grimsnarl. Is it an S tier deck or is it an A tier deck? I don't think anyone would disagree that it's not A tier at least. But where is it landing?
It has no engine. I can't really put it in S because of that. It's tough. I could see it going A. I can see it going A. I think it will have insane representation, but you can throw it in A, I guess.
Max, good with that? A?
Yep.
Good? All right, cool. Gardevoir EX. Not positioned super well this tournament with Marnie's being in the format, but always has feasted on everyone playing Dragapult, as Dragapult play rate going to be as high as it always has been for Gardevoir to still be an A, S tier play, or is it moving down the tier list?
I think it's got to be A.
Yeah, I mean, I think after NAIC, we could see a world where Gardevoir is maybe actually just the best deck still. I think right now, there's some concerns about it in the Marnie and with Shaman. I think because of that, I think Guardy's probably in position in A right now.
Yeah.
It's still very good. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking in 2 weeks and Guardy's back in S, but I think for now, we do have to, limit it. Even though we're respecting it greatly, we have to limit its upside a little bit just for now.
I really think Azul said it best that Guardy, last format, really just did very well, and the reason why it did well is because everyone was too freaking stubborn to stop playing Dragapult. So is that going to continue? Are we going to continue to see everyone playing Dragapult still? Or is now everyone saying, oh, the new deck on the block is Marnie's and it's a lot of fun, I'll play that instead? To be determined. Who knows, right? Everyone's favorite crayon deck. We like to draw on our crayons, on our papers. Raging Bolt, Ogerpon, known as the crayon deck, but it's got so much play. It's got some Flareons and Noctiles, right? It is a challenging deck to play, so maybe the crayons aren't fair.
Yeah.
Where do we see this deck for NAIC?
This is not a crayon deck anymore. In a way, like you can still hit the cards you need, but the people who are doing well with it are people who have practiced with it and doing very good sequencing and like lining things up correctly. So, in terms of how it's positioned, it's not like in my favorite position. It's like the deck's still very good. It's like, are people going to play Shaman? Are people going to play Watchtower? That's really like what is limiting it. I think it's in that A to B tier conversation. I think it's just like where it fits.
I low-key think it's A.
You think it's A? Really?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Marnie's. I think it's like I think it's a similar case of like, do you actually beat Marnie's consistently?
Well, the key, I mean, they're able to go and threaten the Frostlass with Baby Bolt pretty quickly. So I think it's a question of like, can he get Shaman out, or or is Grim Marnie's playing Maractus to be able to slow things down? Like, I do think it's probably favored into Marnie's, but I think it's a question of how well will the Bolt players perform in that matchup.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's like kind of 50-50. The attackers, it would seem like it's way super favored into Grimsnarl, but it's just not. Like when I played against Chris, he didn't go Baby Bolt, and I just played Badu Monkey Dory basically and won that way. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's A. Like, it is fairly versatile.
Yeah. I'm okay with it in A.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys override me. I personally think it's a B tier deck for this tournament specifically, because I think people are still going to play a lot of Gardevoir. They're going to play a lot of Grimsnarl and a lot of Dragapult, and I don't think any of those matchups are favored for Raging Bolt. But I'll let you guys. We're a team. I'll override. Let's move on. Dragapult. This is the slow variant with no Dusknoir. So what do we think about slow Dragapult in this format? I think it's like falling off a little bit. It's definitely a worse play. I don't know if it's beating Grimsnarl. I don't know if it's beating Guardy. It doesn't seem like slow Dragapult's in a good place. So I'm gonna advocate for this one to be in the B tier and let you guys convince me otherwise.
I think it has like a good time into like a lot of the field, but historically it loses to Guardy without the Dusknoir or something else. I think like high B is probably fair for it.
Yeah, I'm fine with B. I mean, it's a very consistent build. Maybe we cover the other Dragapult builds while we're talking about Dragapult, but
yeah,
I just think like again, still with the field of Gardevoir and Grimsnarl, like might not have enough options, but like there is something to be said about it just being an extraordinarily consistent, straightforward deck.
Yeah.
Or something like a Dragapult Charizard or Dusknoir, I think is a little better positioned.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like Dragapult Charizard and slow Dragapult are like in the same realm, and then Dragapult Dusknoir maybe just like a step above. In the current format is where my kind of read on the format is. What do you guys think about those placements?
I almost think Dragapult Dusknoir could be like S, maybe.
Ooh,
yeah, that's kind of my thinking too. I mean, I think it's the best position of the Dragapult decks and like has the tools. I mean, when it's able to pull off everything, it can deal with Gardevoir and Frostlass. And Grimsnarl, I think it's just a question. I mean, right, you're trading that power for consistency. I think if you're drawing hot and hitting everything you need with Dragapult Dusknoir, like you can probably go win the tournament. And I'm wondering for that power level alone, if we need to like respect it in that high A S tier range.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, I think when I look at this tier, I do think it's better than all three of these decks overall. It just has one glaring weakness where it's not beating Gardevoir.
Well, they should have a better time.
Yeah, the Dusknoir have a better shot than the just plain Dragapult.
So, want to start with it here and come back to it and see how we feel?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's do it. Gholdengo Dragapult, our last Dragapult variant, but the Cheese Stick Man with it, again, tearing it up online tournaments, absolutely tearing it up. But we haven't seen that conversion in real life that much. What do we think about this deck going into the format? Max, I know you're high up on this deck. What are your thoughts first?
I think the win rate online is like a little inflated just by the caliber of players playing it consistently and doing well with it. I mean, like, if Leeboy and King Heracross were grinding Ethan's Typhlosion or Flareon box. Like we'd probably see similar non-beer type of thing, right? I mean, I think just like speaking clear with that. I do think it's decently positioned, right? Because it's one of those decks where it's like you have like an okay Guardy matchup, you have an okay time in a Dragapult, but like Grimsnarl's kind of a problem, Raging Bolt's kind of a problem. Like on paper, you can still win these. It's just like, is it doing enough? Is this a tournament where if you bring a deck that's fine in the Dragapult and Gardevoir that you're good enough? For me, it's on that A to B tier conversation.
I think it's A. I think it's A for sure.
Yeah?
I mean, just being able to one-shot stuff even more consistently or pull off a mid-game Phantom Dive. Pretty crazy. The Dragapult or Dracloak's just an insane draw engine. Gholdengo's an insane draw engine. Uh, it just seems pretty well positioned too. My only fear is just like the Devo play is just so scary to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, it is scary. I mean, I'm okay with keeping it here for now. Our A bracket is stacking up a lot, especially with Flareon Noctowl on deck, which I think also belongs in the A tier. There's so many good decks right now, and like it's really just about the matchups you hit and how well you play and who plays the deck. So I'm okay with keeping that in A. Let's talk about Flareon Noctowl. I'm gonna advocate for it in A. Again, you have a really good time in the Dragapult, a really good time in the Grimsnarl, really good time into Raging Bolt. Like all these decks, Gardevoir, you're a little weaker, but maybe you can speak by that play rate going down a little bit for this tournament specifically. What are you guys' thoughts on Flareon Noctowl being an A?
I could possibly see it in S. Like I think like if you're very, very confident, it is like I think it is like the play for the tournament. Like when I play it, I think I have like a little bit of like consistency issues when I'm fully awake even. But I don't know. It's just like so strong. Flareon's just such a crazy card. The Leafeon inclusions has more uses than just Grimsnarl.
Yeah,
Against Guardy, if they Drift Loon you, you can you can go counter catcher if they have a Monkey Dory with an energy, like Leafeon's attack can kill a Gardevoir. Yeah, you just get knocked out again in return by the Drifty probably, but like I don't know, like it's got options and
yeah.
it's
And I think it's the one like box deck in the format, pretty much. Reginald's probably getting a little close to that.
yeah, I think it's got to be A. Like I could see an argument for it being S.
I think it's really well positioned. I have too much issues with the consistency and still like a shaky Gardevoir matchup. To like really put it in S. But I think it's firmly in A, and I think it's extremely well positioned for the tournament.
Yeah, I think so too. Put in your watchtowers, guys. Flareon Noctowl is a good deck. All right. Now let's fill out the bottom of our tier list because we got through all the good decks pretty quickly. Any deck here that you want to like advocate for A tier that is left on our tier list?
No.
Any deck that you want to advocate for B tier?
I mean, Joltik box. I think
Joltik box
firmly in B tier. I mean, it's just too solid in the meta. Straightforward. You know, it struggles. Like, I mean, it has a trickier times. Like, you need to know your matchups in the Grimsnarl. They have some tricks they can pull. That you got to be ready for. But I think it's just solid and straightforward, and still a good time in a Gardevoir and Dragapult, and just has that simplicity, and needs to be in B tier, respecting that. It's not quite as well positioned as as before Destined Rivals, I think, but it's still in a good spot.
Yeah, I think it's in a fine spot to put in B tier as a B tier play. Parker, I heard a hot take from you. I want you to say it again.
Bro, Garchomp, that deck is so tough to beat.
I agree. It's 400 HP is a lot. But
400 HP, a guy that just searches your other guy, that searches your other guy, that searches your other guy, that then you evolve, draw till you have 6. That's one-shotting all the little guys, then has free retreat, and then has an attack that one-shots like everything.
It does 320 with the 2 cent he isn't playing.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. It's actually terrifying.
I think the thing holding it back a little bit is just that grass weakness.
Yeah.
Still, where
Yeah.
decks can capitalize on that. I think it has a harder. I mean, Galvantula can't one shot it because it doesn't have an ability, and if you have if you have like the charm on it, it's tricky. I just don't know if there's like enough power, right? I mean, it is just swinging for 100 over and over, and then like swinging for 260 sometimes enough.
Wait, well, you're swinging for 160, not 100.
Okay, but that's not relevant in anything. That's still. I mean, you're two-shotting everything. Is that enough? I'm not really
But just
sure.
one shot some stuff too. With the, I agree. I think it's also in B tier because the deck is just like it's got potential that if someone finds the right.
Well, every deck has potential until someone does well with it. Right?
Well, I'm just like, look, I'm comparing to all the other decks, right? Like, I think it's above all the other decks that we haven't talked about still.
Yeah. I'm less of a believer, but I'll keep it here if y'all are a fan of it.
Phil has like a Blaziken
Yeah.
Garchomp thing. Yeah, and that gets rid of the grass weakness factor, but also you can just stream the thing that one shots every turn.
Bro, literally, like round 4 when I hit it as Gardevoir, I'm like, yeah, I literally can't deal with it. So I'm like, okay, Screamtail, you're a bench guy. And they're like, cool, KO you. And I'm like, Screamtail, you're a bench guy. Like, eventually I'm like trying to like KO this thing with Monkey Dory, but then he's gonna Monkey Dory. So he's like, Monkey Dory back. And I'm like, Screamtail, you're Monkey Dory. He's like, okay, here's another Monkey Dory. 400 HP is just so insane.
Yeah.
If you two have been terrorized by Garchomp at locals, go to Eric and pause up.
Literally.
All right, let's talk about our C tier decks. I'm just gonna pop a few up here. I think Charizard Pidgeot is in the C tier deck. I think it was doing well in a format, or it was played more in a format when we had the Psyduck that stops Dusknoir. But right now we don't have that Psyduck. We didn't get it in our set. So I think right now, for this tournament, it's a little bit worse of a play. If you want to play Charizard, just play Dragapult Charizard. I think it's just better.
Yeah, I think probably Terror Box still a good enough deck in general. Has enough options that I think C tier is fair for it. A little too much Dragapult like running around.
Yeah,
and it's like not good enough into that. But again, it's a deck where there's enough power level to it that it can do enough, and it can.
Yeah, and if people are cutting shamans, you can just take advantage of it.
Exactly,
for sure.
I'll say Rocket's Mewtwo could be in this C tier conversation. Again, very powerful engine. It struggles with late game disruption, but in the mid game and like early power is so strong. There's a lot of times if you ion them to one into that Ariana, then it's kind of game over.
You think Roaring Moon is D tier after just one?
Yeah, I don't think it's good anymore.
I think it's better than
All
Armorer's Box.
I don't think Roaring Moon is that good, but you can just win like 4 games, 5 games throughout your run by donking people.
That's true.
I won the flip.
True.
I'll go second. 1 basic. Okay, here's a Petra Runt in a Brood Bonnet.
Fair. Okay, fair.
So like I think C, and it did just win.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather play Roaring Moon than most of these other decks in C, honestly, if I had to play one of these decks to the tournament.
That's fair. Rocket's Mewtwo might be the one I'd play out of the C tier.
Well, Rocket's Mewtwo is the most fun for sure, until you get Iron 2, and then you're not having fun anymore.
I mean, these decks without engines are the ones that struggle the most. All right, let's talk about meta predictions. Let's talk about the top 6 decks only. Let's lock in our top 6 decks for NAIC. Parker,
we're talking play rate or talking
play rate?
Tier list.
Play rate. Parker, what's the most popular deck NAIC?
Is it split into variants or
no?
And
They don't
Dragapult?
stream yet. Dragapult for sure.
Oh well, they're gonna. Well, okay. I was gonna try to do it on here or something.
Well, we do it here. I mean, but Dragapult combined percentage is going to be about what? I mean, do we think it's going to be? I think historically saw like 17. Do you think it goes? Is it really just like?
I thought it was higher than
I think it's like 10-9.
Oh, we got to include Charizard in there. So I think Dusknoir is probably going to be the most popular. I can see probably like 9 for Dragapult Dusknoir and like 5 for with the other Dragapult variants potentially.
something like that. Sure.
So you're looking at like 19% that way.
I think it's fair.
All right, you guys think Dragapult's still gonna be the most popular deck?
I believe it will be.
I mean, like there's one where it's not 19%, but I don't think like Gardevoir or like Grimsnarl beats Dragapult.
Yeah, I think like
Don't
the
feel
only deck
Just
that could like pass it would be Raging Bolt, just because like everyone's like so comfortable with that deck and it's a better play.
90% of North American players have that deck either sleeved up or in their binder.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, mine's in my binder. All right, second most popular deck. My next. What is your opinion?
I mean, there's a world where it's Gardevoir, but and like you said, it might just be Raging Bolt.
Yeah,
I mean, how much Dusknoir, how much Dragapult is there going to be? That's the. I mean, what did we end up with on? I'm checking on what did Portland end up with for play rate?
yeah.
Day one, Dragapult was 18, Raging Bolt was 13.6, Gardevoir was 13.4. So pretty even at the end of the fourth. I think some Gardevoir players will be scared off, and at Raging Bolt, consistency will stick around because it's Raging Bolt's probably a little better play than Joltik Box for here. I'll go Raging Bolt as the next deck, probably like 12.
12. Are there any objections to 12, or you want to lower it? 11, 10?
Ball's fine. I mean, 11 maybe. Yeah. Whatever.
Okay. Next up, third. I think that's fair. I think third. This is where we're gonna see Grimsnarl. I think it's gonna fall all the way to third.
I think it's going to be more than Gardevoir.
I do.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
It's easier to play.
It's easier to play. It's not hard to find if you just find some league battle decks or order your EXs. It's not that hard to find. You just rare candy or use your Morgrem, evolve into it, deal some damage. And people are like, oh, I beat Gardevoir, cool, I'll play it. You know, like
I feel like these types of decks are less popular among the general player base, which is why I'm not respecting its play rate as much.
interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if I'm a Gardevoir player, I'm probably just switching to Grimsnarl for the most. Like if I'm a
Gardevoir players play Gardevoir. Yes.
I feel like Grimsnarl could be in that like 8 to 9%, but honestly, I can see a world where it's less, where like people don't want to pick up this deck.
Yeah, I kind of hope so.
I feel like it's in that 8 to 9 range personally. I mean, if y'all think it's more than that, then shut me up. But
I'm gonna do something to make this look better. People heard us, the real believers. They heard the true stuff.
yeah, that's fine. You just do it that way.
Okay. So Maddox, you're stuck on Gardevoir third.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I just don't know. I just don't know.
I think it's Grimsnarl. Personally,
I have a gut feeling it's Grimsnarl too.
All right, then go for it.
Yeah.
If we have 3, so you can have a simple majority to override.
Yeah, I'm just going like 10, and not like
probably 9.5.
like 10 and 9, right? Like I think it is like right around there, like something along those lines.
Yeah.
Then what's next?
I mean it's either Eevee box or Joltik box, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, which one it is the argument, right?
Probably Joltik box still. I mean, at this big of an event.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of
that 8, 7 or 8 is gonna fall off some. But honestly, I could see Flareon box being pretty close to it. And Portland Flareon box was 7.3%.
Yeah.
Joltik box was 9%.
Something like this, not really.
Or something like 7.7 or something like that.
Yeah, 7.7. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
It's called 7.7.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm gonna go 6.9999.
Sure.
Yeah, good job. It went to 7.
Well, but I just want to make sure it was in 6th place.
Okay.
Maybe this is a little more weighted towards top. Maybe there's some percentage points of Dragapult. Maybe it's not quite a 19 and drops down to like a 15 to make room for a lot of these other more rogue decks. My options here, but I do feel pretty comfortable in this order in this top 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I at some point Dragapult has to be a worse play. Like it has been for a while. I think it still is. Like it's an S tier deck because you're saying Dragapult, Dusknoir. Like what makes it an S tier deck is the fact that they take 50/50s across the board. And I think that's what makes it good. But I just don't think that I don't think we're gonna see a lot of them in top 8. That's my personal prediction.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the main thing here is that again the player base is like locked into this deck and they've been playing it for a while, and enjoy playing it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to swap off of something you're very comfortable with.
Yeah, it is hard.
I mean, right? I mean, when Clefairy came out, we thought this was going to drop down, and it didn't. And then now, you know, Grimsnarl isn't even like a terrible matchup. Like it's tougher, but I don't think it's awful. I think it's just hard. You know, people who've been playing Dragapult, like I don't think you go to NAIC like, oh man, there's no way I could play Dragapult like for other events.
Yeah. All right. I have one off the rip prediction for you guys as we close out this episode. Good luck to everyone playing at NAIC. Parker Greenwell, I'm gonna go to you first. What is the highest placing non-top 6 deck that we just went through?
Top 16.
Yeah. Let's say what deck?
Oh,
Card Chomp, Roaring Moon, Mewtwo,
yeah.
Typhlosion, Pidgeot Control, Charizard, Pidgeot. What deck gets the highest ranking out of those?
This is gonna be boiling hot. I think it's Mewtwo.
Okay.
And someone cracks the list somehow.
All right.
That is really boiling hot, but it
I mean, it's
might
got
be a
weakness. Like
it might be a little overcooked.
Phylops, man. Max, what about you? What do you think is going to be the highest placing? I mean, obviously, you have to choose the deck that you really have been playing lately, right?
Gholdengo just not converted to the topic. I mean, I'm trying to think like what like rogue stuff could like have a good run and make it through there. You know, I mean, I think we could see a new archetype, like, and you know,
Sure.
something here
Sure.
that we are not really talking about. I think, like, of the known quantities, I'm gonna say Terrorbox again. Just if they're able to go and like, you know, find those answers and get rolling. You know, again, I don't know if it'll be easy, but again, if someone is able to go and play things right, dodge the watchtowers, and then just capitalize with all the options they have and have a deep run. Again, I don't know if it's gonna do that well. But you know,
that is indeed a hot take. Speaking of hot takes, I am now a dad, so I have to say Archaladon.
We didn't even cover Archaladon. I mean, but that deck's decent.
I mean, it's good, man. Like it's just good. So I'm gonna say Archaladon gets the highest placement outside the top 6 decks.
I forgot that was even a deck.
We didn't even talk about it in our entire episode, and we've been talking.
Did not.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you really enjoyed this content. Leave a like, comment, subscribe below while you're here. And good luck to everyone competing in NAIC. If you are not playing or you want to see what's going on, hop on over to my stream. I'll be co-streaming and restreaming the event and having fun with my baby at home. So I'll miss you guys. Have fun. Shout out FCBC. 30% off. Get your sleeves.
Yeah, don't forget to use Beach Court Pod to check out.
Beach Court Pod.
It's gonna run out the deal will end the end of day Sunday, so it's your last chance.
Next time
we'll be talking about good dealing.
You can't get it, so get it now. 30% off.
30% off.
Beach Court Pod. See you.
See you.